CM Punk and AEW face abuse and harassment allegations from an ex-talent. Plus, a WWE name return has been confirmed, and an ex-WWE star made a shock AEW taping appearance last night. It's all in the Cultaholic wrestling news right now. CM Punk's infamous final run in AEW has come to light once again with a report from Fightful Select. Now, previously it had been reported that Ryan Nemeth had a run-in with CM Punk following comments that Nemeth made on social media, and these reports led to a backstage altercation between Nemeth and Punk, allegedly, and it led to Nemeth being removed from all future plans in AEW.
So Nemeth quietly exited AEW in early this year, following several years with the promotion. However, a new report from Fightful Select has uncovered complaints filed by Nemeth with AEW management from September, with Nemeth presenting a timeline of events which he says highlight abuse, harassment, and threats he faced while working in All Elite Wrestling. It should be noted that these are the individual claims of Nemeth himself, primarily as outlined in the documents sent to numerous AEW executives.
The report states that Nemeth alleges abuse from Punk and takes issue with AEW management for failing to respond to any of the incidents, with Nemeth at one point encouraged to cut a promo antagonizing CM Punk. He states in a complaint that he retained a log of emails, texts, phone calls, and other records with Punk referred to as a former AEW talent who had an undisclosed executive producer manager title with AEW, of course, talking about Punk.
He claims that he contacted then AEW legal representative Mega Parek on April 16th, 2023, with Nemeth concerned that he would be targeted by Punk. Nemeth also alleges that Punk threatened him in an AEW locker room on June 21st, 2023, with news of the incident reported at the time. You may remember those. Punk is believed to have taken umbrage with Nemeth over tweets pertaining to his ego, with Nemeth adding that Tony Schiavone, Parek, and the Young Bucks all showed him empathy, with Nemeth allegedly assured his AEW relationship wouldn't be affected by the incident, although it's not noted of who specifically assured him of such things. Nemeth claimed that his tweet, you may remember this one as well, literally the softest man alive, was in character.
Now, after the incident, Nemeth claims he wasn't booked by AEW for 2 months. John Moxley alleged to have contacted Nemeth to say the situation didn't sit right with him and supported Nemeth during this period. Nemeth then followed up with Parek on July the 17th of that year, with Nemeth upset that AEW hadn't responded to the locker room incident in June. Nemeth feeling he'd be silently fired by the promotion, specifically that his paid per appearance would be allowed to expire. Nemeth feeling that he was being punished, although Parek is said to have assured him that speaking up wouldn't impact his job.
Nemeth was booked by AEW for the first time in 2 months on August 12th, but then, and you'll remember this one for sure, upon arriving to the venue in Greensboro, Nemeth was told to go home, with Pat Buck originally telling Nemeth there was travel confusion before then telling him that Punk demanded Nemeth be removed from the venue. Reports at the time highlighted this incident, with several AEW talent asked to stay away from the show. Nemeth alleges that he has audio evidence from this day from several interactions.
Again, Nemeth says he contacted Parek for actions to be taken. Nemeth flown into the August 16th show and, in Nemeth's words, ordered to verbally antagonize the world champion, Brooks' AEW Collision world champion at the time, in a promo in front of the live crowd, which was taped for AEW programming.
Nemeth claimed that he spoke with AEW Legal and HR on August 16th, but there was no appropriate response to anything in the situation. Parek abruptly left her position in AEW's legal department, with Nemeth then dealing with Chris Peck and Margaret Stalvey.
Now, following that infamous Jack Perry CM Punk incident at Wembley in August of last year, Nemeth was asked to speak to outside counsel as AEW Legal and HR were investigating the situation. Nemeth claims he mentioned how he'd been speaking about Punk's pattern of behavior and was concerned about being made the fall guy for Punk's behavior and conduct. Those Fightful spoke to claim he was determined that the course of action with Punk rather than rectifying Nemeth's past issues with Punk and AEW. Nemeth states he again stated concerns that his contract would be left to expire and was reassured that it wouldn't.
Nemeth's final appearance for All Elite Wrestling came on November 18th, 2023, the same week that Punk would make his return at Survivor Series to WWE. Nemeth claims that he leaves Tony Khan and AEW hold him responsible for the firing of Punk and his subsequent return to WWE. Nemeth's AEW deal eventually expired in March of 2024, with Sonjay Dutt believed to have made numerous creative pitches to use Nemeth, but ultimately those went ignored.
Now, after the completion of the Outlines timeline, Nemeth alleges that the AEW legal rep Chris Peck communicated a settlement interest that would equal approximately 3 years of Nemeth's salary, dependent on Nemeth signing a non-disclosure agreement on the matter. Nemeth says whilst he was appreciative of the offer, he wished to discuss it, but was informed by his legal counsel that the offer was no longer an option. It's also claimed that Peck informed Nemeth that he'll be placed in an antagonistic position to Megan Perek if things ever escalated to arbitration. Although Nemeth claims he maintained a positive and respectful working relationship with Perek, Nemeth further claims that Peck threatened him with legal action in response to sending him the aforementioned timeline.
As a result of the events claimed by Nemeth, he states that he met with mental health professionals and is seeking a policy change within AEW, as well as the aforementioned financial consideration that was discussed.
Nemeth states he felt the AEW locker room was full of amazing people and they deserve to work and be in a safe environment. Nemeth does not necessarily believe that Punk was the catalyst of such conditions, as he believes it would likely be someone else. Nemeth specifically claims he believes these concerns fell on deaf ears to Chris Peck and AEW, with others believed to have communicated such issues to Peck.
The document filed by Nemeth noted that AEW's legal and HR departments had received Nemeth's timeline of events, but Peck himself had not personally received that timeline, as things had reached a stonewall with him. Nemeth specifically noted that Perek, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson and John Moxley had all been helpful during the situation.
Fightful added that they had heard that after Nemeth had spoken with AEW president Tony Khan and others in AEW this year, that Khan had entertained the notion of working again with Nemeth, but Nemeth didn't want to. No other comment has been had from AEW so far, courtesy of Fightful Select. It's a shame to be bringing this one up again, but this is based on, as we say, this document that Ryan Nemeth filed just a short while ago.
Yes. First of all, thanks for sticking with that. There was a lot to digest there.
That was a lot.
Second, I don't know how this document that has been sent to HR and execs has made its way to Fightful. My belief, and just one man's opinion, this probably came from Nemeth. Hopefully this didn't come from HR or AEW. If this is a leak, it's a whole different matter to me, because this is something that is a personal matter and shouldn't have gotten out, but it has got out, and I think it's worth talking about. Third, my opinion on this Punk stuff has changed massively over the last few months especially. It really does appear, to me at least, that people may have been poking the bear a little bit with CM Punk and AEW. The fact that Ryan Nemeth was encouraged by higher-ups within the company to go out and make a jab at CM Punk, a guy who was world champion, at significantly higher on the pecking order, whereas, Nemeth is just like on a paid per appearance deal. That is poking the bear, and I think it's unprofessional to encourage somebody to go out and do that. So I'm not justifying anything that happened backstage and the physicality that happened off screen. But you've got to kind of think that, hey, maybe Punk had a little bit of a point, and maybe his frustration was more understandable than we gave him credit for, and I gave him credit for at the time.
Maybe so. We'll keep an eye on this one. We'll let you know more at cultaholic.com. Now, we had the Netflix event from WWE just the other day. We're getting some details about that coming out, including a few announcements that come from it. One of those was being the age rating not changing. We talked about that yesterday. But also the news that Pat McAfee is confirmed to be returning to WWE full-time as part of Raw in January.
Alongside his best pal, Michael Cole. McAfee commenting on the news saying, an absolute honor to be asked back. A childhood dream realized every single time I'm lucky enough to be in an arena with the WWE Universe. That's you. Can't wait to be talking into a microphone next to Michael Cole again. He's the GOAT. I'm excited to tell the worldwide audience on Netflix how great the WWE superstars are and how big of a scumbag some of them are too. Let's go!
This means that Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett are going to be heading off to SmackDown, where they'll be hanging out on a Friday night instead. And I think that's the right way around.
Oh, 100%. I don't really want to see Pat without Michael, to
No.
be honest. I'm excited to hear his voice again. It's been a little while. I still really enjoy the passion that he displays every time he does a show, and I think his presence is being missed. I know some people sort of started turning on him a little bit and thought that, the 3-hour thing every week was a little bit much for Pat, or the longer shows every week were a bit much for Pat because he can get a little bit much in that time, perhaps. I always personally quite enjoyed it.
I've
think
always loved him. He's the boy. I love him a lot. I'm glad he's coming back in January. Cheeky Ring of Honor spoiler for you here. If you don't want it, stay safe and love you. Bye. Oh, good, you're here. Thank you. So AEW taped Dynamite last night, and they had a Ring of Honor taping. And it was amongst all of this that we had Chris Jericho hosting TV time exclusively for ROH TV. And he was confronted by a former WWE guy who has absolutely made a name for himself as an indie legend now.
Yeah. Oh, radio! Matt Cardona coming out to confront Jericho. Issued a challenge for the Ring of Honor title at Final Battle on December 20th. During the segment, Jericho started to call Cardona Zack Ryder, and Cardona said, "Zack is dead. The man who's going to beat you at Final Battle is Matt Cardona."
Fighting words there. This is going to take place at the Hammerstein Ballroom. I think a lot of ROH purists, the ones that are still there, are very upset in the sense that whilst it's a great marquee match, but what is everybody in Ring of Honor TV fighting for? Because it feels like everyone that's getting shots at Jericho just rock up. There's Ishii.
Yeah.
There's Matt Cardona. And that's not me. That's not just, And also, it puts an interesting situation in when it comes to the relationship with AEW and GCW. Because we talked recently about how AEW had pulled Ricky Starks from those GCW shows. And here's Matt Cardona, very much a flag bearer for GCW. Mm-hmm. As part of that, Brett Lauderdale putting out some very mysterious comments about interesting times ahead. So whether or not that means that the bridge has been rebuilt between the two. Maybe the bridge wasn't burned to begin with.
Perhaps. Couldn't give a toss about the match, personally.
There you go.
No, Cardona, he just doesn't do that much for me. I think he's fine, but whatever. As long as this ends with Samoa Joe confronting Chris Jericho and getting the title off Jericho ASAP, I'm cool with it. No, honestly, that's the match that I wanted to see really at Final Battle.
Yeah.
I think Jericho's going to go over here, and hopefully it leads to Joe coming back and being the face of Ring of Honor, because I don't want that to be Chris Jericho. I understand why you want Jericho in that position. Huge, super familiar name to lots of generations of wrestling fans.
Yeah.
I'd rather it was a short thing than a long thing.
Well,
personally.
This has been a medium-sized thing, and we thank you for joining us for it. For the very latest wrestling news at any time, you can check out Cultaholic.com. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.